Hello all, and welcome to the Rails board meeting. This is Friday, October 27th, 2023. I'm Alex Vancina, president of the Rails board, and I call this meeting to order at 1 p.m. Emily, would you please call roll?
Sure. Monica Caldecott.
Here.
Rosie Camargo.
Here.
Jean Carroll.
Here.
Alice Creason.
Here.
Gwen Gregory.
Here.
Robin Hollenthal.
Here.
Diane Hollister.
Here.
Jennifer Hovanek. Renee Leva.
Here.
Julie Milivek.
Here.
Thomas Stagg.
Here.
Alex Vancina.
Here.
Vanessa Villarreal.
Here.
Karen Voidick.
Here.
Catherine Yanikowski.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Emily. We'll handle guests and public comments at the same time. Let's start with guests here in East Peoria.
Kendall Orison, Rails and RSA. And I have no comments.
Okay, thank you. Next to Burr Ridge, are there guests in Burr Ridge?
Monica Harris, Rails.
Joe Philippek, Rails.
Jessica Barnes, Rails. Swanson, Rails.
Wesley Smith, Rails.
Any public comments in Burr Ridge? Oh, sorry.
We have two more. Sorry, Alex.
Sorry.
Who is that?
Layla Heath and Laura Nemeth.
Thank you.
Okay, any public comments? Hearing none, let's go on to the State Library.
Hi, this is Karen Egan at the Illinois State Library. No public comments.
Thanks, Karen. Okay, Emily, would you please read the names of any guests on Zoom?
Yes, for the record, Jen Hovanek has joined us. Also, Mark Hatch and myself.
Okay, any public comments from Zoom participants? Or any public comments via email?
None received.
Okay, thank you. So next we will move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to move any item to the regular agenda for further discussion?
I do have some corrections to the minutes.
Okay,
There are some names that are misspelled in the minutes, including Jean Carroll, who is with 2 R's, not 1. Julie Milivek is listed as Julia. And the guest at the Illinois State Library, Mark Schaefer, there's no E in his name. And his name is spelled correctly later on in his report, but Jean Carroll's name is misspelled throughout the minutes.
Thank you, Alice. We'll correct those.
thank you, Alice. All right, so with those corrections, do we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
So moved, Karen.
Oh, we got heard Diane and sorry, and Burr Ridge.
Karen.
Karen, thank you. All in favor? Oh, this is gonna be a roll call. Emily?
Monica Caldecott.
Yes.
Rosie Camargo.
Yes.
Jean Carroll.
Yes.
Alice Creason.
Yes.
Gwen Gregory.
Yes.
Robin Hollenthal.
Yes.
Diane Hollister.
Yes.
Jennifer Hovanek.
Yes.
Renee Leva.
Yes.
Julie Milivek.
Yes.
Thomas Stagg.
Yes.
Vanessa Villarreal.
Yes.
Karen Voidick.
Yes.
Catherine Yanikowski.
Yes.
And Alex Vancina.
Yes. All right, thank you all. Next is Sharon Swanson with the Rails Financial Report.
Hello. I have a couple of bits of good news this month, but they'll be sprinkled throughout my report. So the September 30th general fund cash and investment balance of approximately 20.6 million would fund approximately 18.1 months of budgeted fiscal year 2024 operations. And the general fund revenues through September were just over 2.85 million, which is approximately 2.77 million below budget. And of course, this is mostly due to our not having yet received any APC grant payments. These are budgeted evenly, but received sporadically. But we did receive word from Greg McCormick at the State Library, because the Live and Learn Fund within the State Library's budget has been discontinued, no longer exists, that instead of getting a bunch of smaller payments, we will be getting one very large payment from their general fund. And he did inform us that that's going to be authorized very, very shortly, and should be at the comptroller's office for them to issue a check very shortly. So that will be approximately 9.9 million. And the additional federal portion from the LSTA funds will be issued and approved later on this fiscal year. So we will get our money much, much sooner this year. I would like to take this time just to say thank you to Greg McCormick at the Illinois State Library and the Illinois State Library staff and Secretary Julius for such timely processing of our grant application and getting the money to us in such a timely fashion. So thank you. And of course, the continued theme from prior months, investment income was budgeted at a conservative 3.75% based on projections at that point in time, but is now just currently over 5.5% for interest rates. So we are significantly above budget, as well as fees for services and materials being above budget. And this is mostly due to just timing differences between when things are actually happening versus how they were timed in the budget. General fund expenditures through September of a little over $4.7 million. We're just over $700,000 below budget. This was mostly due to lower library materials expenditures, and this was due to timing differences between budgeted and actual eRead Illinois program expenditures, as well as not having yet made purchases of the additional K-12 and special language material for the eRead Illinois program, which was budgeted at $100,000 per year. And this is partially offset by higher than expected participation in the EBSCO database group purchase, which is great news. And this is also due to lower contractual services expenditures, mostly due to timing differences between our receiving and paying our delivery outsourcing contractors invoices, as well as not having yet awarded any cataloging membership or My Library Is grants so far this year. But the cataloging membership grant application period is soon ending, and the first round will soon be issued. This was also due to lower personnel expenditures. We are in various stages of the recruitment process for 4 open positions. So this variance was mostly due to that time period during which these positions have been vacant. And also favorable to budget health insurance elections by our staff. And lastly, this variance was also due to lower vehicle expenditures and due to timing differences between receiving and paying the monthly fuel card invoice. And one thing to note with that, the fraudulent fuel purchases that occurred in August, we did receive the full amount of the credit on our account, equal to the amount of fraud, and that has all been taken care of as of September. So we are in a good place once again. And the WEX security measures that are in place did actually work, so that's great news. And also, I did want to note during the month of September, Rails paid down a deposit on the carpet replacement that we had budgeted for Coal Valley. That's that $14,000 approximate figure, which is half. Once that work is completed, we will pay the other half. And we budgeted an overall, I want to say $50,000 for improvements at Coal Valley, and the carpet was original to the building, unfortunately. That's just about all that I have. Do I have any questions?
I just want to also extend my thanks to the Illinois State Library, Greg McCormick, Secretary Janulius, for this new payment process. I think this is going to be really helpful, and we're really appreciative for that change.
All right, hearing no questions, thank you, Sharon. So next we'll move on to reports. I do have some news to share this month. Robin Hellenthal has retired from her position at the Peoria Public Library, and as a result, will be resigning from her seat on the Rails Board. This will be her last meeting. Robin, it's been a pleasure working with you. Thank you for your dedication to Rails and your service to the entire Illinois library community. Wish you all the best in your future ventures. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I've enjoyed my time on the board. Hopefully, maybe I will be back again. And I've, sad to go, but at the same time, new opportunities wait. So I will be seeing you around.
All right. Thanks, Robin. Next, we will move on to board committee reports. The reports were included in the agenda packet. Are there any questions or additions regarding the reports? If not, then next we'll move on to Monica with the Rails report.
Thank you, Alex, and hello to all. I know I had the opportunity to see many of you at the ILA annual conference this week, which was a great experience for all. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the things regarding ILA a little later in this report. But before we get into some of the material that was included in the written report that you received as part of your packet, I did want to share some news with you all today. So this piece of news that I have is excellent news in that we have filled our Director of Marketing and Communications Director position. We wanted to share that with you all today. And so Dan Bostrom, who you may currently know as our Member Engagement Manager, has accepted the position, the Director of Marketing and Communications, and will begin the role on October 31st. So I want to extend my congratulations to Dan, and I hope you will join me in welcoming him. He can't be with us today because he's on vacation, but congratulations to Dan, and we wanted to share that today with you all. So we'll be sharing more as we look at our member engagement positions and figure out where that is moving. But we're really excited, and I want to thank again all of you and the Rails membership as we have navigated some of these transitions. Some of these processes do take a while, but we want to make sure that we're doing them right and that we get the right people in these roles. So thank you for the opportunity to share that with you all. Hopefully we will have news on some of our other open positions that are, as Sharon mentioned earlier, currently in progress for you soon. We also wanted to share that there has been some facility work, as you may have noticed if you drove into the Burr Ridge location today, that there has been some work on the patio. That was all, yeah, it's looking good so far. That had to be updated because some of the patio enclosures in particular are original to the building here in Burr Ridge were crumbling and falling and becoming a hazard. And so we did take those down and they have now been updated. In terms of the patio, we'll be adding some fencing around that space before it'll be in use again in the spring. All of that was included as part of the budget process that many of you approved last year, but I thought you'd want to note and see some of those changes were happening. Safety and security in Illinois Library. So in your packet, you saw some of the things that have happened since our last board meeting where we discussed some of these issues. So we did have a meeting that was open to all Rails Library directors to discuss some of these issues. We were able to take some of the things that we learned from the meeting that we had on September 15th, where we talked about the things that were helpful to those directors that had faced some of these bomb threats, things they wish they would have known, or things that were helpful in their responses and process. We came together with some of the directors from our Rails membership. We had about 150 directors attend that meeting, and a lot who expressed afterwards that it was very helpful to them in terms of their planning and understanding of the issues at hand. We did then write a summation of some of the things that came out of that meeting and shared with the directors list for those who were unable to attend. And I want to extend my thanks especially to our directors that had faced those threats and that were willing to not only share that information with us, but also speak to those events at that meeting. That required a lot of kind of courageous thinking and understanding of how they faced some of those things. And it was very much appreciated by the membership. In addition, I do want to share, any of you that attended the President's Program at ILA probably saw that ILA is also at work at efforts that will help libraries respond to safety and security threats within libraries. It's an extension of their More Than a Building campaign, and Rails are also partners in helping to put together materials and resources for that. We will, of course, extend our thanks again to the Secretary of State who offered $10,000 in order to help to make that effort happen. That was shared at the President's program, but I think that'll go a long way to making sure that libraries have good resources and understanding of some of these issues at play. In addition, as many of you may have seen, one individual was charged with multiple felonies on October 11th that were related to some of these bomb threats. Additional charges may be at play. Originally, some of the libraries that were identified were in the northern suburbs, but since then, other libraries have also had their police departments check in. And so we are hopeful that this will be a stop to some of these things that have been happening. There was also an additional program from the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation out of Boston. There were 3 programs on October 24th. We are aware that many people were at ILA and could not attend those programs. So we're continuing to look at other opportunities to be able to ask them to offer that again. And I will also be attending the Library Journals Director Summit that is in Houston in the beginning of the month, because they're doing a full day pre-conference on library safety and security. So I'm hoping to bring back some information and some understanding of experts from around the country who should be able to offer some additional insight on this. I also am aware that LIRA, which is the Library Insurance Cooperative that many libraries in the Rails membership are part of, is going to be addressing this as part of their member meeting coming up. Those are the updates I have on library safety and security. Any questions on that before we move to other areas?
But part of me is glad that if it was a single individual or a single individual responsible for more than one, like that feels like it's not like this widespread thing. That feels a little bit better, but also bad because then this one person, whatever, spread the awfulness around.
Yes, and I think it was a reminder to a lot of folks just about what goes into some of these things, how much work that, still needs to be done on some of these issues, both in terms of your own library administrative practices, but also your relationships with your legislators, with your police departments, with law enforcement, with all of these understandings about how we can help our libraries prepare for unexpected issues like this.
I had my home library and also the public library in the school town where I am, were both impacted by these. And so I felt like I couldn't get away from the worry, whichever way we turned.
Thank you for those comments, Monica. And I'm hopeful that it will end up in the best place possible. Other things we wanted to share. So beginning of the month, I was very pleased and fortunate to be part of a webinar program called Book Challenges on the Rise, Support Your Freedom to Read, that was organized by the Vernon Area Public Library, but more than 75 libraries across Illinois co-sponsored this program. It was organized as a virtual webinar that was focused on people who might want to learn more about book challenges that are actually from outside of libraries. So a lot of the content there was focused on what is a book challenge? What does this new legislation do? And even ask questions about how libraries end up on books on the shelf in the first place, or what a collection development policy is and what it looks like. It was moderated by syndicated columnist Heidi Stevens, and there were also 2 authors, as well as, of course, Secretary Janulius, who was there to speak about the legislation. It was very well attended. More than 700 people attended the program, and there was a lot of interest in it. It was not recorded. We've received a lot of questions from folks who were hoping to be able to watch a recording, but unfortunately, while there's no recording of that, there are other programs that are on our archived Rails CE site that also address a lot of these issues that we are directing people towards as they look at some of these things. And I will say I spoke to a lot of particularly trustees at ILA Trustee Day who said that they attended the program, that they learned a lot, and that it was really helpful for them in being able to respond to some of the concerns in their area. So very pleased to be a part of that. And I want to again thank Vernon Area for putting that together and for inviting us to participate. The ISLE conference was also at the beginning of the month. October is a big month for conferences. And so a lot of Rails staff were there. Rails also had a booth at the event. We were very pleased to be a part of several programs. We had 3 separate programs that were presented by Rails staff. And one great change that ISLE made this year was that they had one session where the only sessions that were available were about your library system. So there was one by Heartland, one by Rails, and then Chicago Public Schools also offered a session so that everybody who's looking to attend a session could attend a session within their own library system and hear more about what the systems do and how they can support school libraries and school library workers. We got to talk to, and Dan Bostrom presented that for Rails and did a fantastic job. And so it was a great opportunity to be able to talk to people who may not otherwise have engaged with Rails or understand what Rails does, and just get a chance to do that. So I want to thank ISLE for that opportunity to have that kind of captive audience to be able to talk to them about what the systems do. But we had other programs that were presented in a very successful booth. And so we're very pleased to be there and to continue our partnership with ISLE, but it was a great day. Also wanted to share again some more information about broadband for libraries. So also at the ILA President's Program, you probably saw our Director of Technology, Ann Slaughter, and then Troy Brown of the Illinois Heartland Library System came up and gave 5 minutes on broadband projects that are happening in Illinois and the importance of all of us to know about them because it's a lot of federal money that is coming into Illinois, and we want to make sure that libraries are really considered as part of the recipients of those federal grant dollars. So Carly, Heartland, and Rails have partnered on an open letter that actually went to the Illinois Office of Broadband, all about the importance of having libraries in place. We also shared the website and shared that there, but it's broadbandforlibraries.com, kind of shares everything that you need to know about how you can make sure that you're aware of these issues. There is a comment period on the original BEAD proposal that is due by October 30th. So really short turnaround just in that one. But if you have an opportunity, I would encourage anyone, especially those of you that are part of our Rails board, to look over that BEAD proposal and consider that comment period. On that Broadband for Libraries page, there is also a copy of the open letter that went out from the 3 organizations explaining some of the things that Rails has in mind. So I want to thank Ann Slaughter, especially for all of her hard work on broadband throughout the years, but especially on this project. She authored a lot of the things into that open letter and the presentation that went out to the membership. And I think it could be a really good thing for Illinois libraries. There is also an additional plan, the Digital Equity Plan, that is expected in January. So expect to be hearing more about this as that plan comes out. I think there's going to be a strong place for comment and for libraries as part of that plan. And so it will not be the last you hear about broadband in that partnership. Finally, I know last month we talked a little bit about the Illinois School Library Workers Symposium. That was also a very successful and a well-attended event. I think they gave a presentation at ILA this year to talk about how to support and advocate for your school library, but in their conversation about the planning for this event and the need across the state to be able to have some level of training for school library workers with no other level of library understanding or education or certification. They had hoped to get about 50 people to attend. And of course, there were more than 300 people that actually attended that event. And we're hoping to make it an annual event. So I do want to congratulate that group. You'll see in your packet the list of all the folks who put that together and planned it. And of course, Dan Bostrom, this kind of came a lot from Dan and the work that Dan had done with this group. So I want to congratulate that group as well. And you saw a lot about Staff Day in your packet this year. I want to thank the board once again for approving the closure so that we had the opportunity for all of our team to come together. It was our first time for a Staff Day since 2019. We had a great day in Rockford, and I just wanted to ask Joe if you'd be willing to share a little bit about the day.
Yeah, you know, in 2019, we were in East Peoria, and I think it was you might describe a much more traditional in-service day where we did our sexual harassment training prevention, and we did a lot of sort of learning sessions. But we really deliberately for this year wanted to have a sort of combination of sort of events and platforms that would allow staff to really connect, or in a lot of cases reconnect. I know that Monica at the beginning of the day kind of asked staff, like, how many of you this is your first in-service attendee? Like everyone's hand up, or a lot of hands went up. So for so many staff, it was their first time really meeting one another. Of course, as you know, with half of our staff being delivery, other service centers, et cetera. This day is really, and particularly for delivery staff, such an important one for that connection and getting to know their colleagues. So again, a combination of just kind of general information. You heard about the therapy dog program that we got to hear about, that was kind of based in Rockford and has a really big impact, not only in that community, but kind of expanding. And then sort of fun and games, and then also some learning, delivery staff, their time to come together and really talk about topics relevant to delivery, and then office staff getting together, some table talks about topics relevant to both systems and libraries. So as I think I've described it, we're looking at the feedback from the day and surveys, the general things, but I came away from the day feeling a very good vibe. I feel like people were energized and really got a lot out of connecting to one another. So again, very grateful for the board's support in allowing us to close for a day, stop delivery for a day. But it's something that is really beneficial and I would say necessary for staff to do. So we are not going to wait 4 years till we ask you to do this again, I will say, because I think staff are better. Thank you.
Any questions for Joe or about any part of the Rails report? Okay, that's all I have, Alex.
All right. Thank you, Monica and Joe. Next, we have Jessica Barnes with some information to share on the Explore More Illinois program.
Hi, I'm Jessica Barnes. I'm Special Projects Librarian here at Rails, and I head up the Explore More Illinois online cultural and recreational pass program. Just a little background, we started our program in 2018, and as of this month, we have 333 Rails public libraries participating, which is an 80% participation rate, which we're really happy with. We have 88 IHLS libraries participating, and a little bit later I'll talk about this, but on June 5th, Chicago Public Library joined us. So we do now have all 3 systems participating in the program, making it a true statewide cultural pass program. Some of our attractions include museums, historical societies, performing arts centers, park districts, professional and semi-professional sports teams, and offers include free and discounted admissions to these places, free parking, gift store discounts, and discounts to annual memberships. So each attraction can decide what offer they'll give to the public library cardholders. Rails covers the licensing fee, and there's no additional cost for libraries to join. On the sheet, it says there have been 75 unique attractions. I just added the 76 before the meeting. So the David Davis Mansion Historical Site in Bloomington just joined. So they are our 76th attraction this year. Attractions come and go. We do have seasonal attractions. So, you know, if you go on and log in today, you won't see 76 unique, just because sports teams have seasons and we live in the Midwest and sometimes things close for the winter. We won't have all of those available at the same time. You can see right now, I put our 5 most popular attractions for the year. Since Chicago joined, some of our attractions have changed simply because of the 3 million potential cardholders in Chicago. But you can see Museum of Science and Industry, the Chicago Botanic Garden, the Peggy Note Barrett Nature Museum, DuPage Children's Museum, and the Chicago Children's Museum. In addition, Anderson Japanese Gardens in Rockford, Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library Museum in Springfield, and Peoria Riverfront Museum in Peoria have been 3 of our most popular attractions since we started in 2019. I was really excited at ILA to hear some people say that they did make reservations to the Presidential Library and Museum while they were in Springfield. In addition, last year we started working with Carly, which has been a great partnership with us. And we work to identify community colleges for a pilot program. And right now we have 4 participating community colleges in Explore More Illinois. Last year, Illinois Central College in Peoria and Lincoln Land Community College in Springfield joined us. And then in 2023, Oakton College and College of DuPage just joined us this semester. So we're working with them, making Explore More Illinois available to their community, not only their students and staff, but any community members who are eligible to get cards. And so that's also making Explore More Illinois available to people in unserved areas, which is fantastic. One of the things with the community college pilot program is the community college has to provide an attraction. So like right now we're working with College of DuPage. Hopefully their Performing Arts Center is going to be participating as an attraction. Lincoln Land has been great. They have a really robust culinary arts department, and they have a student-run cafe, and they give discounts at the cafe for Explore More. So that's been really great to work with. On June 5th, Chicago Public Library joined, and from our end, everything was fantastic. There were very few technical issues. We worked really well with CPL staff to get everything set up. They had an existing cultural pass program, which was on paper. It was not a digital. And so we worked with them on how to transfer everything over, how to work with their existing attractions. And most of their attractions also extended offers to our suburban and downstate libraries as well. So not only did CPL join, and it just became much easier for them to administer the program because it was online, but our Rails patrons also got 17 new attractions with CPL joining. So that's been great. We've continued to work with CPL on getting new attractions that are available to all Illinois residents. So that's been really great. Facets is a performing art, it's not performing arts, it's film, it's like a film organization. They run the Chicago Children's International Film Festival, and they just made a discount available to all Illinois residents. And what's great about it is many of the films are available for streaming, so you don't have to be near Chicago. So that's one of the offers that that we just worked with CPL on getting and making available to everyone. Just a little more information. November 1st begins the last enrollment period for Explore More Illinois for 2023. That will be open until December 15th. So if you know any libraries who are interested in joining, they can contact me during that period and we can get them enrolled. And we probably won't have another enrollment period until the spring. So this will be the last time for 2023. And it's a great time to enroll because then they'll be all set for spring, which tends to be our busier season after the winter. Also in November, we'll be relaunching our Explore More Illinois website, which is at exploremoreillinois.org. It's going to have a similar look and feel to our new updated Rails website, so it will kind of match that. So we're also going to be adding some photo galleries and just some new features, an interactive map that people can put in their home address and get directions to all of the attractions. So just some new features, and it's going to look very similar to the Rails website. I'd be happy to answer any questions or take any comments about the program. Yes.
Have you tried or are trying to work with the College of Lake County?
So what we're hoping after this year is that we'll just start adding, we're going to evaluate the pilot program. And if we decide to continue with it, then we'll be adding colleges on a rolling basis. So we haven't figured out all the logistics of that, but that is the plan, is that it will make it available to all community colleges. Yes.
What about other colleges?
I think the plan right now is to do community colleges first. That way, every Illinois resident has access to a community college and can get a card. And we want to make sure that we started as a public library program, and there's things that are different with academic colleges, things like we've been working, just like hammering out things about expiration dates, because if you're not enrolled for the next semester, you won't have access to things. So I think working with the community colleges first will allow us to figure out some of those technical issues, and then we'll evaluate whether we'll go to four-year colleges and universities after that.
Tell me about from the attractions point of view, how do they get data from Explore More, and what's their feedback? Are they just like, I'm thinking that those top 5 are probably excited, but like what's their feedback, or what how are they choosing what discount they might offer?
So we have some attractions who do want the data. We don't provide names or emails. We will provide how many reservations were made, when they were made, home library district, and zip code. So that's the information that we'll provide. I would say I was really surprised at how few museums are requesting that information. I think, I know we just started working with Art Institute, and they are very, very interested, especially on zip code information. And what I would say is most of the attractions are very interested in zip code information because they are really strategically trying to work with low low socioeconomic areas and making sure that they are reaching those communities. And that's been something that they've also asked me, like, how can we make offers more attractive to like, geographic areas? And I know that's something that CPL is working with a lot with their attractions right now, is making sure that they're reaching those hard to reach communities. I will say sometimes it's a hard sell when I'm working with an attraction on why this is like a good offer. I think sometimes I'm like, we're just giving this away for free. But what I've also heard and what we get from our surveys from our users is some people have never heard of these places. And just having this available as a marketing tool is a really, really great way to just kind of reach people that may have never heard of your location. And having a buy one, get one admission is better than 0 people coming. According to our survey, 75% of people who use Explore More Illinois have never been to the attraction that they've made a reservation to, and 80% say they want to come back. 80% also said they spent additional money at that attraction besides the admission. So those are also things that I want to incorporate when we're sharing and trying to sell our program to attractions, is like, yes, you are maybe giving up a free admission, but in the long run, this is really, really great for your organization. So, yeah.
Is there any way to identify the partnering institutions when you go there? Like if do they have a plaque or a sign up or anything where they're helping to advertise the program to people who don't know that it exists until they come and see it?
So they're not required to. There are places that promote us on their websites, but I don't know like at the front if any place is doing that. That's a really great idea though. I'm going to make sure that maybe we can think about that. Maybe that's something we could provide them just so that they can get the word out about Explore More. You know, if they could post something or share something at their ticket.
Might help to promote, you know, another wonderful benefit to a library card for people who might not have thought of it.
Well, it's like some restaurants have like the sticker that has like their Yelp rating.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Illinois member.
Yeah. Love
It's
it.
a good idea.
Yeah.
Favorite thing to do is when I have those families come in asking for stuff to do, I'm like, here's the list. Why don't you guys like check through it? And, like just make it like a fun little checkbox thing. Like you get to see all this fun stuff that's available to you that you would have not known is there.
And there are places I've even gone. My sister lives in the northwest suburbs and there's a small museum near her house. And I didn't even bother to make a reservation because it was just like, they have free admission anyway, and it was for a free postcard. But like I went there and I never knew about it. So even me not using the program per se, like I was able to go there and it was really great. The Rock Museum in Buffalo Grove, but I would never without Explore More. So I think it really is just creating like awareness when people log in and maybe are looking for those larger museums, but then find out about all these other amazing places too. So, and in addition to Illinois, we also have attractions in Iowa and Wisconsin, and we're trying to get more attractions like near borders because we do know a lot of people. When we talk with our Quad Cities libraries, a lot of things are over on the, on the Iowa side. Same thing with our Northern Illinois libraries. People go to Wisconsin. So we are extending it past the borders. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I would just say, if I can just add, Jessica has been really humble about the amount of growth that has happened this year and the amount of work that goes into that. So adding all of these new attractions, all of the things that went into integrating CPL into this program. If you've looked at the usage statistics that are in your board packet each month, the way that has changed since the summer, it has been an incredible year for this program. And that is due to the work that you're putting into this program.
It's just so, we started in 2019, the pandemic hit before we even had a full year. We were shut down for a year. And really when we reopened, it was like starting the program over again. So 2022 was really our first full year to see where everything was. And then yes, 2023 with CPL joining, having like a second full year of this all going. And I think just COVID rates dropping a little and people feeling more comfortable. We've just seen such growth in the program. So.
All right. Thank you, Jessica. Next, we'll move on to the report from the State Library. Karen?
Thank you. First, I just want to share that we were so excited to see all of you in Springfield this week for the ILA conference. For those of you who were in attendance, and both Greg McCormick and Secretary Janulius were thrilled to meet so many of you and take those, snapshots with your cell phones, pictures throughout the week. Very exciting time. So we were really happy to have you all here and hope you'll all come back again soon. I want to piggyback on one thing that Monica talked about was the More Than a Building campaign that the Illinois Library Association is going to be doing with lots of help from many of us. As she said, we're going to be supporting it with some grant funds, but it's this campaign will highlight how Illinois libraries are not just a physical infrastructure, but they're civic and social, with communities that reflect the library professionals, volunteers, patrons, and all the partners that make all of us unique and essential to the people we serve. And some of the things that this campaign is going to do is center on safety and security of staff and volunteers and the tens of thousands of people who walk through our doors every day. There'll be information and resources available for library workers and volunteers, and it's going to affirm the essential roles that libraries play in the community. So we are really excited about this because it's going to leverage the support of stakeholders to build awareness and establish a shared commitment to ensure that Illinois libraries thrive. So we are really excited about this new initiative that's going to be coming out. That'll be great. Also, I don't know if you guys have seen the press release that the secretary announced that we are giving a grant to support prison libraries. 28 prison libraries are going to be awarded funds. We're giving one grant to the Department of Corrections, and then they are going to disseminate the funds to purchase reading materials for those incarcerated patrons. And it's much needed funding. Those of you that have been around libraries for quite a while will know that, library correction facilities ebb and flow as system members, and then they lose staff and they go out of system membership, and then they might come back in. And we're hoping this will help stabilize some of the resources that are available to people who will eventually be patrons of our public libraries, because educating is better than just having them in prison. There is evidence that shows having solid libraries in prisons, just like schools, helps with the rate of them not going back into prison. So we're excited about that. With that, do you have any questions for me? I don't want to take up too much of your time because we saw you all this week, and again, we were thrilled to see you all.
Karen, thank you so much for all the work that the staff did in opening up the Illinois State Library to so many. I heard from so many people who talked about how beautiful the building was, how helpful the staff were, how excited they were to get to meet the secretary. I know it was huge for a lot of folks. So thank you for all the work that I'm sure went into that reception.
You are welcome, very welcome. And we've got lots of things that'll be coming up in the next couple of weeks. So just stay tuned for more things coming out.
Great. Thank you, Karen. It was great visiting with you at the State Library during the conference. Please share our thanks with Greg and Secretary of State Janulius. We appreciate it. That brings us on to new business and back to Monica for some legal compliance updates.
Thank you, Alex. So, so all of you probably saw this memo that was in the board packet. This item is a requirement of our annual report, and it's verification that we keep the board abreast of any state and federal laws that impact the board, as well as any updates that come there. So I ask you to just bear with me. I know some of you are very familiar with these things in your various roles that you serve, but we want to just make sure that everybody has awareness of some of these issues as we go through this memo. So we did want to present it to the board as one document. Again, this is prepared and was very recently updated by our attorneys over at Ansel Blink. So thank you to Julie Tappendorf and Aaron Manforti for their updates to this document that was shared with you today. So I'm just going to go through some of these and then we'll have an opportunity if there are questions or any comments that anyone wants to share based on the information that's in the memo. So the first piece is, of course, about the Illinois Open Meetings Act. I know you are aware of the many things that we have to do as a result of that Open Meetings Act, including posting our agenda in advance. The meetings have to be open to the public, that our minutes must be taken at each meeting of the public body, and then those minutes have to be available to the public. And so all of those things are detailed here in terms of the things that we have to do as an organization. Renee Leva serves as our OMA officer for the Rails board. And so that is another piece to be aware of, that each for some of these activities, there is an officer of the board that's also responsible for looking through these things and responding to things that might happen as a result of them. Along that line is also the Illinois Freedom of Information Act, which we often know as FOIA. Of course, FOIA is another government transparency law and requires that government records must be made available to the public upon request. There are a number of exemptions, just like in the OMA, that allow a public body to withhold certain types of records. And those include, of course, attorney-client communications, personnel evaluations, closed session meeting minutes, and many, many other types that are included. Alex Benzina serves as our FOIA officer. As part of our FOIA recommendations and requirements, we also have a page on our website that details our FOIA officer, how to get in contact with our FOIA officer, as well as all of these other informations that you see in that kind of central paragraph that's numbered 1 through 9 that has all of the things that must be made available publicly on the website as part of that FOIA request. Next is the Illinois Public Labor Relations Act. That's the act that grants public employees and employers the right to bargain collectively. It's the primary law governing relations between union and government employers. As you note here, some kind of recent changes to this act include that workers' right advocates have begun to argue, that the provisions of the act may be altered or weakened by the successful adoption of the Workers' Rights Amendment. And that was added to the Illinois Constitution in 2021. So we're not sure whether or not there will be additional legislative efforts to change the provisions of the act, but if there are, our attorney will let us know, but that's kind of what it is as it exists right now. Next is the Illinois Governmental Ethics Act that sort of details all of the ethics that are required of state officials, including members of the board. Renee Leva also serves as our ethics officer here at Rails. Thank you for your work in multiple areas on this, Renee. It is a comprehensive state statute and really shares all of the things that elected and appointed officials must do, including filing statements of economic interest every year. When Emily sends you that message or that note about the statements of statements of economic interest, that's all included here in the Illinois Government Ethics Act. Next is the Local Records Act. Local Records is an act that requires public bodies to retain certain types of original or historically significant government records. These are handled by our administrative staff here at Rails and specifically headed by Stacy Palmisano. Thank you, Stacy, for all your work on local records. You will also remember that this is something that was brought to the ILA Public Policy Committee as something that would potentially be considered for revision. This is still up as a legislative priority of the Illinois Library Association, but some of the discussion at a recent Public Policy Committee meeting wondered if changes to that act might not be made legislatively, but instead be made more administratively, perhaps through some changes at the Secretary of State's office if he was interested in any of those changes. So that seems to be the direction that some of those potential changes might be looked at. But in the meantime, there's a process that we all follow and know very well, and that is all required by that Local Records Act piece. Next is the State Officials and Employees Act. This requires all units of local government to adopt local ethics rules that are no less restrictive than any state ethics law, and then details what some of those things are, including the Gift Ban Act, prohibited political activities, and so on. These are all shared with you as part of your orientation to the board, but they're just good things to be aware of and to note, especially in your role on the Rails board. Next are just a couple of financial acts, including the Public Funds Deposit Act and the Public Funds Investment Act. These just require the activities that we have to do in order to make sure that we are responsibly holding public funds. And those are things that we, of course, keep in mind even with any of our own policies here at Rails, is that they're all in keeping with that act. Next is the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund Act. We do participate in IMRF, and so we do have to follow things that are noted by IMRF, including activities that happen by the authorized agent. One thing that you may or may not know is the authorized agent of Rails is determined by the board, and so if we're ever to change the authorized agent of IMRF, it will go to the board for decision. So currently I am the authorized agent for IMRF, but in the past that has also been a position held by the head of finance. And so that's something we may continue to look at for the future to see where we're at, especially as changes happen within the IMRF system. I know Sharon's looking at me with big eyes, but we just have to continue to consider these things. Public Officer Prohibited Activities Act. This is the statute prohibits certain types of conflict by local government officials and employees, and it provides a general rule that a government official, cannot be financially interested directly in any contract or business about which the officer would be required to vote. So in other words, you can't have things that you might financially benefit from as being part of this board. Recently, this is something that might have been a change since the last time that you looked over these. The Public Officer Prohibited Activities Act was amended by the Illinois General Assembly to prohibit units of local government, including public libraries, from retaliating against any whistleblower activity. So we wanted to make sure that you were all aware of those changes as well. The Illinois Library System Act, that's the thing that governs us. It's something that is long, but it includes all of the reasons that Rails is what Rails is. It also includes the powers of the systems board. So these are just good things for you all to be aware of, that these are powers that were given to the board through that System Act piece. Numbers 1 through 12 really show all of the things that the board is responsible for and what you can do. So just good to be aware of those. And the System Act is, of course, something that was very innovative when it was developed, and something that helps to continue to support libraries throughout Illinois and make us a strong state for libraries. Finally, the Americans with Disabilities Act that many of you are aware of. It's a federal statute that prohibits discrimination against people with disabilities, and this kind of details what that means to Rails, as well as the Illinois Human Rights Act, which also prohibits discrimination in employment, real estate transactions, financial credit, and access to public accommodations. Rails is compliant with all of these acts, and these are things that we have to keep in mind when we're looking at any of our materials, especially hiring. And then the Decennial Committee on Local Government Efficiency Act. This one was new since the last time we put together this memo. Many of you have had to work on these reports yourselves in the last year. And I just wanted to remind you all that as Ansel Glink notes here, that Ansel Glink has drafted guidance materials and other information on the Decennial Act to help Rails members and staff. And then Rails also developed its own list of FAQ or potential things that people could put in their decennial reports. This came as a request from members who were saying, we don't know exactly how to say the things that we get from Rails, but we know what a great value it is. Could you make a list of these things that we could include in our reports? It was a great idea. And so it's something that our team put together to really share exactly the detail of how much money or how much materials that people might be saving through their membership in Rails. And we heard back from a lot of folks that they put all of those things right into their report. So we're glad that that was able to be something that was helpful. And we are also appreciative to Ansel Glink for their part in guidance on that act. So that is the memo. Any questions, anything anybody wants to note or share on anything we just talked about?
I would have just had Joe read that whole thing.
And it would have been like, any questions?
Well, we're compliant now.
Emily, is there anything I missed or anything you would highlight especially that was in this memo for our board?
I don't think so. I think they do a really good job of, whittling it down to what we really need to know.
I have a question. I almost hesitate to ask it, but it says that new board members are supposed to do OMA compliance within 90 days of joining. Is that something that us new board members are supposed to be?
We should be. So if we haven't, let's talk and we'll get compliant with that.
Okay.
Absolutely. Great question.
Did you already do it at your, sorry, are you a trustee or is it from?
No.
You haven't done it already?
I have done it in the past, but I haven't done it since I joined the board. Like I've gone through the training in
Yeah,
my
because
past.
I do it every year. And so like what I did is I gave it to Emily for the one that I've already did, because it's the same thing.
Okay.
But we can most likely like you.
Yeah, and some of that is stuff we share at the orientation, but there's so much happening at the orientation. No, not at all. And so that's a good reminder for us too, is to double check and make sure we've got everything from everybody and send out reminders.
I feel
I
horrible as
will-
the only. Yeah.
I'll send the link to everyone.
Thank you, Emily. Any other questions on anything in the memo? Well, I appreciate your time. I know this is not new information for many of you, but it's an important part of what we do.
All right. Thank you, Monica. Next up, we have Wes Smith with a board development topic this month, online security best practices.
Hi, thank you. Again, my name is Wesley Smith. Wanted to apologize for some of the remote folks. It may feel like our cameraman has had 10 cups of coffee. We're just testing out some new camera tracking software that evidently is very anxious when it can't see someone. I'm just going to share my screen.
There you go.
Share my screen here and start just a quick PowerPoint to kind of go over cybersecurity best practices, both what you can implement at your organizations as a board member, as well as what Rails works on. The two big areas that I see in the cybersecurity landscape that affects us and most of our types of organization is social engineering and ransomware. Social engineering seems to affect us majority because libraries tend to be too friendly and too willing to help people. That's kind of our thing, is to help people. So when someone calls up and they're very charismatic and able to ask the right questions, often we will go above and beyond to help them. And sometimes that is a security risk. Some of the things that we have done around Rails is we have dropped USB drives to see if staff will pick them up and plug them into their devices at multiple locations. So far, no staff has done that. So it's been a great success. When it comes to ransomware, it's a huge threat for every organization. If you have a budget, you're a target because their focus is to extort money from you. It's a criminal activity to extort money from you. So if your data is important to you, then they have value in selling your data back to you. Most of our data is subject to FOIA. So you may think, oh, well, if they steal our data, that's not that big a deal. But the problem is they don't just steal it. They first encrypt it so that you can't access it. And then they attempt to sell it back to you. And if you don't purchase it, if you have backups that are able to protect you and restore, then they'll sell it on the open market to anyone who's available. We don't deal with a lot of credit cards or anything like that in Rails, but other organizations may. So ransomware is a huge portion of the vector of attack that is currently going on. And it also is a credibility with our organizations and your organizations where, communities we work in, disruption of services may not cause financial impact to us because we have backups and we're able to restore from them. But the trust in your organization and your availability to be providing those services to your members might be harder to recoup that trust than the dollars that you may have spent to restore your infrastructure and get your equipment back up and running. Cybersecurity best practices. I'm sure you all have seen a slide like this before. Strong passwords, multi-factor authentication is a must. Regular updates, patch management. firewalls and intrusion detection systems, data encryption, and backups are very important. If you don't have your backups in at least 3 locations, you don't have a backup. Secure remote access, awareness and training, and risk assessment of your organization. So having someone come out and take a look at your organization and see where you can improve. Incident response. Developing an incident response plan is key. Knowing exactly what you're going to do if you have or when you have an intrusion, because it's only a matter of time. No system is perfect. You're going to have one way or another, someone will maybe make it through the front door and start looking around. That's important to know exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to combat that. Communication and transparency. You know, we've heard about a lot of organizations that have been breached and they don't tell anybody about it for over a year. That is a big no-no. That's going to destroy your trust with your constituents, and it's important to be open and honest as much as your lawyers will let you be. But I've definitely talked to your legal counsel about what you can and can't discuss publicly, especially as a board member. What kind of information is okay to share. And in continuous improvement, meaning not only you have an incident plan, but you test that incident plan. You kick the tires and go through it once in a while to just see if there's any areas for improvement to make that plan better. Employee training is a big one. Making sure that everyone understands what their role with the organization is and how they can protect the organization from a cyber threat, because I would say 70 to 80% of intrusions come from employees clicking on something in their email or inserting a USB drive or downloading some sort of software that they think will make their job easier or allow them to do something better. And that's where the first foot gets in the door. And reporting security incidents. You know, if you notice that someone's in an area they're not supposed to be, let IT, let facilities know. And creating a culture where people are talking about, hey, did you get that weird email? You know, that you're not, nobody's just keeping their head down, pretending like they're not getting spam, because everybody gets it. It's blatant and common in every organization. Invest in technology, modern cybersecurity tools and solutions, network endpoints, threat intelligence. Vendors, make sure your vendors know what they're doing, especially if you rely on them. They're a key point of failure is when your vendors have staff that are coming and going and they have the keys to your information. Make sure that those vendors are trustworthy and you know them. I'm going to do a little demo here with a piece of software called RVC, which is retrieval-based conversion. I worked with Monica in so much that I asked Monica if I could do it. Yes. So at this point, you can pretty much fake anybody's voice. I used the board orientation that Monica so graciously did for all of the board members and recorded that audio and fed it into RVC and created a model to then change my voice to sound like Monica's. Now the first go around, I didn't, work on my acting or anything like that. I just recorded this. And I think I need to reshare because I didn't click the share audio.
This is awesome. And then this is recorded so you can share amongst other directors.
Yeah. So this is the recording that I made.
Hello, this is Wesley Smith. I'm a 6'3" nerdy IT guy, and this is just to show you how easy it is to impersonate someone else's voice.
So that was me, and then the first go around, this was what it came.
This is Wesley Smith. I'm the 6'3" nerdy IT guy, and this is just to show you how easy it is to impersonate someone else's voice.
Monica.
Let's, one more recording here.
Hi, this is Monica Harris. I need you to go over to Best Buy and pick me up $300 iTunes gift cards so I can give them out at this conference. Just send me the codes via my email. I'm using my personal Gmail.
So that I got a little more into character, like trying to, put a little acting into it to talk like Monica. So the recording sounds a lot better.
Hi, this is Monica Harris. I need you to go over to Best Buy and pick me up $300 iTunes gift cards so I can give them out at this conference. Just send me the codes via my email. I'm using my personal Gmail.
And then this last one, I'm not going to play mine because it's very similar to what you've heard before, but just another recording I made pretending to be Monica.
Hey, this is Monica. I'm at ILA today and we're doing a big deal, so I need you to transfer $100,000 to the following bank account. Thank you.
Whoa.
Did you test that one with?
I did not pass these around at all.
Just a test them?
Yeah, this kind of came about because I saw a session at DEF CON this year where a gentleman did not only audio, but video in real time, creating, the main issue why I didn't do the video portion of it, because it's very easy. I was able to train this model in about an hour and a half to 2 hours based on just that audio that I got off of YouTube of Monica. And I didn't do the video deepfake portion of it just because I would need to wear a wig and glasses, because it kind of needs some parts to key off of to really convert your face to look like someone else's. But it's
You might have had to.
saving as well. So it is, and there are YouTube videos that show step by step how to do this. It is trivially easy to do it for anybody who just takes a little bit of time. So even if you get a request that you think is legitimate, do not trust it just based on sound alone, and especially if it sounds a little fishy. Monica will never be asking for gift cards. And I think that there would be paperwork to fill out for any sort of wire transfer. So it's getting scary. You've probably seen a lot of the deep fake stuff that they've done online, a lot of, Homer Simpson singing Sticks or other, AI generated voices and stuff. So just have to question everything. It's extremely important to not just take a request at face value.
Thank you, Wes. That's more than just a cool party trick. It's like, it's a good example of, yeah, we did this. Other people could do this too. Yep.
I think the one thing though, the benefit, because I've obviously you go online and you find things and then you go into the outer limits of the internet at interwebs. What was interesting was that they would be able to record the individual and change the language and still match the voice.
Yeah.
Which would be, I'm like, the great thing about that though is you would be able to capture the audience. So for example, if you're the mayor of Chicago and you needed to send out a message, it would be able to utilize that voice and still change all the languages so that everyone can get the same message. Because if you're not able to speak in Spanish or, because Chicago's diverse. So how do you capture all the audiences in different languages and their own origin? So I think your benefits.
You're doing an AI model of someone's voice. You're not training it to know their words or to speak the words like they speak them. It's their voice. And so other language, it doesn't matter. It can make those same sounds with that voice in another language. Okay, any questions about this or cybersecurity in general?
There's one thing I want to add. I did fire recently, and I don't care if they listen or watch. I did fire recently my IT group because I found out that we had 2 servers and an external, 2012 and a 2016 edition. They put everything on the 2012, never moved it to the new server. The external server didn't even work. And then the backup wasn't working at all. Majority of our technology, if you don't realize it or look into it, was expired.
Oh, yeah.
So for example, my IT team group right now, they were like, you need to update your stuff in October because at a certain date in October, it's actually expired and then anything can go in there. Chances are minimal, but it can still happen. So it's one of those things where it's like, if you're not actually looking, you assume your IT team is doing their jobs, you really need to then get an external outside source to just test it and making sure that they're doing their job. And so they've been fired at other libraries too, so.
You definitely don't want to just take your team's word for it that everything's good. You want to have outside organizations do penetration testing or some other form of vetting that everything is going well. And later this year, Rails is going to be doing a penetration test on our networks.
I got a couple high school kids who are pretty good at that.
Well, that's great to know that we're doing the same thing, just to make sure, although I'm not questioning you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, or if I was going into your office and you're wearing black glasses and a egg, then I'd be like, what are you doing? But no, yeah, thank you for doing that. Yeah.
You know, and I think for all of us, like the 2-step authentication or this, or, oh, it's like I have to put in my like it can feel like it's a bother. But I'm glad to hear a good reminder of why that's so important, why we do all those.
Well, I can speak from experience. The library that I worked for was cyber hacked.
Mhm.
We're actually part of the village, so they cyber hacked the entire village. So all the employees, they had their social security number. So I had to put like a freeze on all of my personal accounts and so it's real.
One of the reasons why we wanted to do this for you all, is that we do invest, in the training that Wes and his team, go through, because we know how important this kind of security training is. And you all, as our governing authority, we wanted to make sure that you have the same benefits that our staff do in hearing these great security updates that Wes offers to our team based on the things that they learn at these conferences and in the training that they have and that they do. So I want to thank you, Wes, for all of the things that you share with our team, but also for bringing this to the attention of our board today, because we all need to be aware of the things that are possible now. It's sort of mind-boggling to me that this is something that can happen, currently in our year relatively easily. And it's really important that all of us know so that we can be aware and aren't tricked by any of these kinds of things that are happening.
I will work with Emily. We're going to send out the slides and just some of the links to some of the information, some of the software that was used in this demo, just so that you're aware of it and you understand, if you hear about it again, what the use case is, and that this is what it's for.
We'll reiterate, I will never ask you for gift cards or any, unsecured money. So.
All right. Thanks, Wes. That brings us to board member report, Rails board member reports. Does anyone have any news about their library that they would like to share? Diane?
Bloomington Public Library has just completed phase 1 of our expansion renovation. And I happened to go into the library for the first time. And after working on this for several years, it was just wonderful. I was so uplifted because it's so different from speaking to the architects and seeing the drawings, blueprints, and even taking a walk through before the furniture was in there. It just was overwhelmingly beyond all my expectations. Was great. The second item, I just want to say thank you to Rails and my home library for the opportunity to go to ILA. This ILA was fabulous, I thought. There was just such a variety of sessions And I don't know if it's because I'm older and retired, but I got to enjoy so many of the talks. My particular favorite, the one that I thought at first, this ship has sailed. I know all this. Absolutely not. I went to the session called Books and Program Challenges, Primer for Trustees. It took my awareness level to like 3 or 4 times higher than ever. The speakers were outstanding. And I got their business cards too, and I'm going to share it with our library at Bloomington and the IRSA Alumni Reading Council, because I'm sure that they'd be interested in it for their teachers, and I belong to that too. Fabulous. It was just so compelling, talking about the First Amendment and what can be done with like flags, and I mean, just even little free libraries. I mean, things that we see every day that have so many different ramifications if the way things are interpreted with the First Amendment. But anyway, thank you so much for having this program, for letting me go, and it's just great. Thank you.
I'll add a bit. So as part of the conference committee, thank you for whoever showed up. It was awesome. It was great. And then do turn in your feedback, because I'm also in next year's conference committee. So it was just nice to hear all the positivity. It was unfortunate that the AC broke for one of the days. It was really hot. But no, it was just nice to see people finally being able to talk, even though COVID it looks like it was a long time ago. It was just recent. So it was a success. And the other thing with my library though at Foster Ridge, we just finished a $250,000 parking lot project, which let me just tell you, when I saw the little patio of concrete, and I'm like, ooh, that's expensive. No, it was awesome, because for me, it was one of those things where people need to see visually where the money's going. So during that project, not only was I able to do that, I was able to clean out the light poles, power wash all the concrete bases, brand new landscape surrounding the library, a brand new book drop. We never had one before. And then hopefully in a couple weeks or in another month, if anything, we are getting an electronic sign. And then the other one is book lockers. I was able to get a $20,000 grant from Will County. So we'll be doing book lockers. And then that's my little piggy project to see how it works. Because in the future, I will be hopefully doing intergovernmental agreements with 3 schools to then insert the book lockers in the schools so that the kids can finally have some sort of library inside. They don't have any libraries inside the school. So yeah, I'm just, there's a lot of projects. We also own like 3 lots next to the library. And that's where the nice thing about ILA is networking. So I was speaking to Greg from Studio GC and seeing like, how could we start that project off with no funds? So it was one of those things like, oh, we can work on that. There's a lot of grant opportunities, and I'm very fortunate that I have a power plant. So I hope to have a Constellation Park with their funds, hopefully, you know. But no, just very excited. And again, thankful for whoever showed up, yeah, or whoever attended.
I could just jump on your ILA thing real quick, Renee and Diane's, because I did not say in the Rails report about the e-read party. And I wanted to thank so many of you for coming to that event. Our staff worked really hard on putting that together. It was a joint program with Illinois Heartland Library, which was also a very nice collaboration. And of course, Baker and Taylor, who have our Boundless platform, really were our platinum sponsor for that event. I want to thank them as well for making that possible. So it was really a great event, and want to thank very much the Rails staff who worked so hard to put that together, and all of you who came. So thank you for allowing me to say that before I forgot. Of course.
I was also they silver, but we appreciated that sponsorship as well from our members.
Thank you, Layla.
I have something to say. I went to a program last night at the Joliet Blackroad Library, and it was a Chicago theater actress named Deborah Miller. and she does different characters. She dresses up like the characters. They're all female. Last night was Louisa May Alcott, and I've seen her do Agatha Christie. And she gives like an hour monologue on their life, and she acts like them. It's very, very interesting. And then at the end, she has the book she used because she writes all this stuff using their own words and their own, she doesn't make anything up. And she mentioned Rails last night. So she was stating her love for the library and how if anyone wanted any of these books that she got on Louisa May Alcott, you know, that Rails is actually awesome because you can check it out here and have it brought in from anywhere. So I thought that was very nice of her to mention Rails by name and how useful it is, you know.
I can second her. I do programming at my library, and I had gone to see her at my home library where I'm the trustee, and saw her do Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
And I was so impressed that I hired her to do a program at library where I work, and she did the Jane Austen letters. And she is a historian, so she researches everything. So if anyone's looking to book someone, I would second.
She was supposed to go to ILA, but she got this Black Road job and didn't go, but she.
So is there reaching forward? Showcase.
She's wonderful though. I mean, as a performer.
Talk about South Holland. We had our Hispanic Heritage event. It was my first big one since moving to the library in November of last year. And we had 125 people arrive, which if you've seen my library, we're very small, so that's very intense to have that many people in a room about this big. So we were so glad because it was all word of mouth too. People started hearing about it. I've been trying to reach out to the Spanish speaking community. So afterwards, like seeing for the last like 2 weeks now, like new families and introducing myself, and they're like, oh, we were here for the party, you know? And so like that made us feel so good. It was staffed, we had a Hispanic Heritage Committee, and this was a library that had only one Spanish speaking person, and we now have 8 people in the committee.
Hey.
Yeah, I know. And we worked really hard so to see everyone so happy. We represented 8 countries, especially ourselves, our countries. We had food from different countries. So it was very well attended. We had a folklorico dance. And so we're excited because now we're going to plan the next one next year. So
Cool.
Congratulations.
yeah.
If I could, I would love to share a little bit of news, both from LaGrange and Villa Park. So Villa Park is currently hiring for a few full-time positions, and just knowing how far and wide this reaches, I highly encourage people to check us out. We are a very tight-knit community, and we are looking to connect with more of our multilingual populations. So if you are a library worker that has some of those skills, we'd love to have you. And then from the LaGrange side, this is very exciting. We just finished our installation of our cellular boosters. So you can now get cellular service in our basement, which it seems like you would think you would have that every day, but you don't, but now we do. So yeah, so 2 different perspectives I'm happy to share. Oh, and thank you. This was presenting at ILA. Both of my presentations were working alongside different Rails staff members this time. So it was great to be able to also work at the booth with some of y'all and get to connect with people both as a trustee, but also as a representative for Rails. So it was an awesome opportunity for me to do that for the first time. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your wonderful presentations that we went to see too. A lot of great presentations from Rails staff and Rails board this year. There were 9, I think, at ILA.
Okay, anyone else? If not, then we'll move on to our meeting recap and agenda building for the next Rails board meeting, which will be on Friday, November 17th. Please note that's earlier than usual. It'll be the 3rd Friday of the month rather than the 4th due to Thanksgiving. And we will not hold a board meeting in December as usual. In November, we'll have a review of closed session minutes, an LSAP support overview, and an update on the Rails EDI program. And that brings us to the end of the meeting. If there's nothing further for us to discuss this month, then this meeting is adjourned at 2:23 p.m. Thank you all.